Díomh is me se Vicky Flanagan, fáilte roimh chuig seisiún hocráilte éire, tá go méid le chéile ar líon gach seachtain chun ceangal a chothú leis an talún bheanathe d'éireann. Hello, my name is Vicky Flanagan. Welcome to Sacred Sessions Ireland, where we gather online each week to connect to the sacred land of Ireland. Sacred Sessions Ireland offers weekly meditations connecting us to the sacred sites across Ireland. So these sessions are for anyone that's interested in reconnecting with the land of Ireland, rebuilding their sense of belonging, even healing there's points to heal ancestry here as well. People that want to feel that sense of belonging again to the earth, to be in right relationship to the earth and to themselves. I do recommend joining live sessions if you can, which happen on Sundays at 7 p.m. Irish time. So we get to be part of a community and come together and ask questions, explore our insights during these meditations. So I'm excited for today's session. You're very welcome. We are going to explore Seefin Passage 2, and that's located in County Wicklow. It crowns the mountaintop, and there's amazing views at the top of Wicklow and South Dublin as well. It is known as a passage grave in that it's set in a round earthen tomb, which was built approximately 5,000 years ago. So it was during the Neolithic period. And the tomb is a stone cairn. I will share a picture because I think it's really nice to have an image as well. So it's a stone cairn. It's 24 meters in diameter. And there's large curbstones around the base of the tomb, which is super common in these tombs. And then the passageway opens into a chamber that has 5 compartments. So there's 2 side chambers and one at the back. So I'll share a picture because I think it's nice to have a visual. Okay, I have one ready to go. So So this is the website Atlas Obscura, but I really like their pictures. They're actually nicer than the ones that I have. So yeah, so this is the top of the mountain here in Wicklow. So a lot of people do walk up the stones here, and and the views, it's like 180 views, are gorgeous. And this here is the entrance. As you walk up, you can see up the top there is a hole in the tomb, but you can kind of see into the chamber. Let's see this side. Yeah, that's the part where you can see into the chamber. And there's some nice pictures. There is some art. I found it kind of difficult to make out, or else I just wasn't looking in the right place. But there's like concentric diamond-like motifs on the entrance stones, and also on the roof near the entrance there's 5 lines. So we'll get into this later on, but the 5 lines could signify the 5 chambers. It could signify, in my opinion, my energetic read is this is a vortex beneath the cairn that actually helps us to heal and evolve our 5th energy center. So potentially linked, but again, we'll never know. So I'm going to stop sharing. Yeah, so we'll never know, but I love that about this work, that we can use our own intuition, and as we connect in, we can decide what we feel is true. And then also using these, vaster energies to help us in our everyday life. So there are efficient and practical ways of collaborating with these vaster energies. Some interesting things about the cairn is that there's no artifacts or human remains that were found. So it was excavated in 1931, and yeah, nothing was found. So people still believe that it was used for burial, but maybe the remains were reburied somewhere else, or maybe the artifacts were stolen. The day that I went to hike this mountain, for anyone that's interested in hiking the mountain, it's listed as strenuous and it's difficult to find. I mean, I actually didn't think it was that strenuous. Having lived in BC and Canada, most of those hikes are like easy and then they're actually really difficult. So this didn't feel too hard. I think most people would be able for it. It's just quite a steep climb. And I wasn't really sure where the trailhead was. It's not well marked at all. We were so lucky that when we were walking around trying to find the trailhead, we actually bumped into a group of experienced hikers and they had their compass with them. And then, they had their map. So they were like well prepared. So, I mean, we were not. We had a teacup Yorkie with us, and he certainly wasn't going to help us at all. So they let us kind of follow them up the mountain, which was great. So the way they went was actually the trailhead turned out it's right beside the military camp, the way where the firing range. So yeah, it's quite scary. You don't want to take a chance. Apparently, they have red flags up on the days that they are firing, and it's also listed on their website. For sure, we didn't know this when we went there, so it was safe to go. And we went straight up the mountain, and coming back down, we did a loop. But I think overall, it's around 7 kilometers, so it's not that long either. So one of the hikers that was leading the group, she mentioned that in like religious people, Catholics actually visit the tomb every millennia. And in, I think, 1999 millennia, a priest and people from the local parish and the church, they got dressed in their like Sunday best. And then they like hiked the top of the mountain and had a ceremony at the tomb. So I thought that was really interesting for especially religious folk to go there, especially with something that's pre-Christian, that was built in pre-Christian times. There was an early Christian equal armed cross that can be seen on one of the roofing stones. So maybe it was kind of reclaimed, or it was still used when Christianity came to Ireland. So I think that as a people, especially, left brain people like archaeologists, we just can't fathom why a tomb would exist if it wasn't going to be used for burial, right? It's like, I don't understand. And then there's people that say, it's a portal. It's the chamber is like the womb of Mother Earth. And we know that many of these sites were actually used for ceremony and celebration rather than just practical, this is a burial of someone that was important, maybe. In my opinion, as I'm working with the land, and you don't have to take this on at all, it's just an idea possibly, that maybe these monuments were constructed to protect and mark the sacred land as a way to like hover over and mark where the vortexes were, or portals, whatever those access points were to the other world. Because usually when we visit a vortex in person, the vortex is going to do its thing regardless of whether we consciously collaborate with it like we do in these meditations. And that's why I offer these meditations, because it's our way of connecting and collaborating with an energy that has its own sacred purpose, especially for people who can't be there, can't walk on that sacred land. So when we go to Newgrange, for example, you're going to feel lots of joy, even bliss. And then Loch Crew, you'll feel your heart opening and expanding. You might even cry as you receive love and a heart healing. And for Seefin Passage Tomb, for me, I felt my throat area expand. So I felt like a pulse in my third eye. It's that sign, oh, I'm walking on sacred land and this vortex is going to do its thing. So yeah, it could have been a way for people, 5,000 years ago to mark this land and maybe be in ceremony, maybe collaborate. I don't know. It's just an idea, right? As I mentioned about the art, I think that the 5 lines and the roof and the chamber, the roof chamber, I think that could mean maybe 5th energy center. I don't know. We know that these kind of systems like the chakra system, or tree of life, Kabbalah, they're thousands of years old. So who's to say that this was not related? I'm going to share my energetic read, And again, take or leave it, but this is for people who are interested in this part, maybe energy workers that would like to know what I do when I visit a site and why. So when I got to the tomb, I was met by a celestial being. So I'm going to call this being an angel. And I haven't actually met angels that would protect these areas as of yet, or not that I'm aware of. But this being was the main guardian of this particular land. So no gender, very neutral, even in their mannerisms and how we conversed. This is probably a being that never had a body. This is a being that probably never was a human, right? So I knew when I tuned into the land, there's a vortex beneath the cairn. So as I said, I could feel my throat being activated and healed. And it's not when I go somewhere in person, I don't want to do this work there. One, because usually it's raining, we're in Ireland, I'm getting blown off the mountain, or there's lots of people taking pictures or there, and I can't really tune in the way I want to. So I usually come home and then I tune in. I usually bring gifts and offerings or do what I do when I get there, and then I come home and I say hello again and I offer some sessions for that land. So this was interesting because usually these vortexes are so big, and they're so much bigger than me, that usually when I say like, how can I help, I feel like not insignificant, but I still feel so small in comparison, when I do a little bit of work, and that's my little part, right? But then there's other places that actually require more facilitation. So this was one of those places. The Guardian asked me to assist the site in releasing any guides that are protecting this area, this cairn, that are ready for ascension, and then welcoming new guides for the rest of this energy's journey. So I did that. I, offered healings and blessings to the guides that were ready to ascend. And, these were like elementals and devas that were ready for their next ascension, actually. So there's a theme to this ascension. And based on that main guardian's criteria, we welcomed in new guides, and that was pretty cool. There was those big protectors, and then also the small devas and elementals, and I left them for the day to kind of integrate in, and let them kind of find their way there. Then when I tuned in the following day, I was brought to, energetically, I was brought to the vortex, and I noticed that the vortex was quite suppressed. So, I was just asking, how can I help? So it seemed that the cairn over the years either moved slightly, so maybe it was never directly over the vortex, but it maybe had moved, and just the weight and the compression on the soil, the vortex was a bit suppressed. So I assisted in bringing up grounding cords and grounding the cairn to lift some of that weight, say, and using the elements and following the guidance. I helped the vortex expand, came back the next day, and I noticed that I had grown like 4 times in size at least. So felt really good. And then I offered another healing, and then I asked it to heal me back, right, for the meditation that we're going to do today. So you can see that these meditations or these energy healings with the land is similar to one-on-one. It's similar to what I would help people and what they're up to, using energy to support. So it's so nice that this is a collaboration so that we can help the land and the land can help us right back. I want to just remind people what a vortex is for anyone that's feeling a little bit lost. But a vortex is a collection of energy. It's that really bright energy, super powerful, and it has full spectrum energy. So it has emotions, consciousness, and it has soul and essence aspects. It doesn't mean that it has a soul, but it just means that it can relate to beings that have a soul. It understands us on a human level. It's grounded in the earth, so it has so much compassion for us as what we go through as humans. But it's also made up of divine energy, so it has that all-knowing aspect too, which is great for these healings because they're in line with who we are on a soul level, that faster aspect of us, and then who we are on a human level. So it just kind of works within the boundaries of what it means to be human. So in my opinion, vortexes are a manifestation of an earthly need. So they're super practical. Okay, that was my explanation. So now we're going to talk about the Seefin passage to its own purpose. As I said, they have their own hopes and dreams, they have their own purpose, and it's to heal and evolve the throat chakra, the fifth energy center. I'm sure it's way more complicated than that, but I'm going to simplify it. So the throat chakra is associated with truth, with will, and responsibility or power. So the vortex asks, are you ready to reclaim your power? Or put another way, it asks, are you ready to take responsibility for your energy? Because our energy is our power. And when we recognize that, like when we really get it, we become conscious of how our energy is spent. So this brings in the power of choice, cause and effect. Where my attention goes, my energy flows. Every choice that you make is a choice of empowerment or disempowerment. It's an opportunity to have great faith, great trust, and share your truth, or it's an opportunity to betray yourself or somebody else. And no choice is too small. So, maybe a relevant example, if you're kind of a little bit gluten intolerant and you really want to order a pizza and your inner wisdom is saying, don't do it, like you'll be dying for the rest of the night, you're not going to get up and go for a walk, or you're not going to go to the gym, you're going to have a terrible sleep, so you're going to sleep all morning and you're just not going to have a good day, but you do it anyway. I mean, I'm saying this because I had a pizza last night and it kind of happened to me. It's not that big of a deal, right? So you might not get a few things that you want to get done that day, but when you start to see the bigger picture, walking into that higher level of consciousness, you see how your choice has this massive knock-on effect. It's not just those big, massive life decisions. And if we want to strengthen our intuition, we need to learn to listen to it all the time, because we really look to our intuition for making those big decisions, right? We want our inner guidance system to tell us left or right, yes or no, what do I do? But then we ignore it when it says don't get the pizza, So we're kind of ignoring it for things we think are insignificant, betraying ourselves. It might seem small, but it's still a betrayal, and even though I made that decision recently, I make those type of decisions less and less. So I mean, that's a little bit more successful. And another actually like small example of that is coffee. I do like to have a nice cup of coffee every day, and I'm not the kind of person that could probably drink more and still feel like myself. And one day I was getting a second latte, we'll say, right? And I heard my inner voice, don't do it. Don't do the second cup. And I still did it that day. And what happened was I wasn't able to meditate. This was my day that I was supposed to get a lot of my work done, my meditations with the land. I was also meant to, meditate and connect in myself and get other things done, say. And I couldn't meditate even when I went for a walk and I tried to commune with nature. I couldn't stay present. I was a little bit jittery and, it felt out of body. So I just couldn't commune with nature. I couldn't do any of that work. So for me now, that's a no-no, because the cost of betraying myself is just too high. Might just seem like a second cup of coffee, but who knows what would have come from that day if I was able to meditate, if I was able to commune, who I would have met, what would have came in. So when the cost becomes too high, when you can see that, then you're going to realize, oh, actually, yeah, this whole betraying myself, it's not worth it. It's not worth a second cup of coffee. So as we move to higher levels of consciousness, and to me, this means that we're just making decisions and choices that are aligned with who we are on a vaster level. It's like mind, body, and soul. It's the law of one. Rather than if I make this choice, then I get this. It goes beyond getting our basic needs met. We consider our choices that not only impact me, and those around me, but actually will impact the whole universe. So for me, that's what moving into higher states of consciousness means. It's recognizing that you are powerful enough that as you spend your energy, it will actually impact the universe, because what is in the one is in the whole. It's that idea. It's actually coming into that realization, that recognition of your power. That's what it means to move up the chain in the higher consciousness. We always have choice. Even when we know it and we betray ourselves, we know that we've betrayed ourselves. I always say as well, or I've heard it said that a lie is no longer just a lie. When you tell a lie and you don't know any better, it's not the same as when you lie, but you do know better. What is that saying by Maya Angelou? When you know better, you do better. And that's just the way it is on an energetic level. If you take from energy somewhere or spend energy somewhere, it has to come from somewhere. So, what's going to happen today in this meditation is this vortex is first going to scan us and highlight any areas in our body, our energy body, where we're giving away our power, any energy leaks that's hidden in our field or that are unconscious but are still driving our choices. So I'll lead us through a process to heal and transform energies. And then the vortex is going to work with our root chakra and our lower centers, and then heal and evolve our throat chakra, moving up to the upper centers. And essentially, it's going to allow us to release density so we can hold more light, more of our essence. We're essentially moving towards what's empowering and rather than what's disempowering. We're going to act from a higher level of awareness. So this means making decisions and choices that are aligned with the vaster aspects of us. Because when you reach that level of awareness, you have a better view. You can see the bigger picture. And with this awareness comes a higher cost. We can't ascend higher, or, maybe a better way to express it is we can't hold more light, more of who we are on an essence level, if we're carrying around all this density in our lower centers. To talk a little bit about, the throat chakra and how it's related to the lower centers. I think that's really helpful, and it's so interesting because Seefin passage stream actually works with your root before it works with your throat to heal and evolve. So it's interesting where that link is in the land's kind of consciousness, and also in many of the texts that we read, ancient texts. According to Caroline Mace in her book Anatomy of Spirit, the primary fear that's connected with the throat chakra is fear of having no authority or power of choice. So essentially the fear of being powerless within our own lives, first within our tribe, root chakra, and then within our personal and professional relationships, second energy center. So the throat chakra is essentially a pathway of communication between the upper centers and the lower centers, bridging universal energy and earth energy for co-creation. So I hope I'm explaining this okay, and I'm happy to answer questions as well. So if your primary fear is being powerless, which, according to Caroline Mays, this is everybody's primary fear. If you've trauma and wounding that is unconscious, typically in the lower centers, most likely that's what's driving a lot of our choices, and that makes sense to me, because if we think about it, the ways that we lose our power or we give our power away is usually in relationships that are, unequal or disempowering, second energy center. Or we make decisions from survival, first energy center, fear of not having enough, not having our basic needs met, fear of abandonment, rejection from our tribe, our family. So that makes a lot of sense to me, how that could drive our choices as we co-create, from the throat. Consciously, or from our will, it's actually unconscious energy that gets to be realized, which is such a shame. But as we become more aware of it, we can make better choices. I'm going to share an example because it's always nice to have examples. But when I first collaborated with the Seefin vortex, I actually couldn't believe how accurate it was in finding a cord or like an energetic attachment that was in the background, totally hidden. I didn't see it. It was in my shadow, I'd say. And it was just driving some of my choices that I wasn't aware of. So it's unconscious energy that the vortex helps us see. It's such a gift. It's efficient, it's practical, it's super smooth. And what happened was it highlighted for me in my field that there was a cord, an attachment to my dad's approval. Okay. So that blew me away, because when that recognition came, I saw lots of pictures, all these moments in time of like my dad saying to me, you shouldn't have done that. I tell you what you should have done. Right. And like, this is kind of like so many examples of this. Like, why did you book that trip? You should have went here. Or you shouldn't, why did you book that? You shouldn't have booked that course. I tell you the course that you should have done, right? And literally, I mean, the whole mountain of pictures came in, all these moments in time of my dad saying things like that to me. And that feeling came of, like every time I did something, it was, I should have done this, So it was so interesting because, like I'm 33 and here's this attachment of me needing my dad's approval. And I was like, no, I'm not aware. Wasn't aware of that at all. I've done a lot of inner work. So this was incredible that this came up, because so important. And the reason it's so important is if we have an attachment or a cord where we need a need met, and that in this case, it was I need approval from my dad to validate my choices, right? What happens here is if that's unconscious, which it was, that might be driving some of my decisions. And it might go unconscious for so long because these decisions or choices might be very small. But as we move up the chain in consciousness, they become more expensive. So it means that if, let's say, for example, I was given an opportunity for work, but it was great for status, it was great for money, but it just didn't align with my own values and my own beliefs, like my own authentic self, right? I would take it if it meant I was going to get my dad's approval, right? So even if I wasn't aware or I wasn't conscious of that, that could be the driving factor of such a misaligned choice, because we're seeking power all the time, right? So I think, okay, here's an opportunity and I can choose to empower myself and disempower myself. If I'm not aware that I have this, need for my dad's approval that's unhealed and unresolved, I might say yes to that and then wonder why I'm miserable. When I take the job, I'm like, I don't understand. Why am I so miserable? It's like, yeah, because it goes against who you are as a person. So I hope that helps. I was a little bit reluctant to share that as a example, but I just think it's a good one and it's very recent, and it goes to show you can do all the work, but there's still so much hidden that we don't know. And it's so important to just be aware of these things. So oh yeah, that's also why you're here. And I don't want to get into this too much, but I think these misaligned decisions and choices, we see it all the time. And I think we see it mostly with people that actually have more power, in the physical world. They have wealth or fame, celebrity status, they're politicians, they make poor decisions that impact them, right? But they seem to just have little concern for the impact of the collective. I mean, they say they do, but their actions, their choices seem to just serve the one themselves. And they're not considering the consequences. That's why I think you hear spiritual people, spiritual people, they're the ones that should have the money because they'd be so generous with it. They'd use it consciously, right? And then there's other spiritual people that still won't touch money. And it's because money has this kind of power, and it has power over people. It has changed people. So I don't want to get into a debate about money, because I do believe as well, money is a great resource. And yeah, I think people could do so much good with it as well. It's just a good example because it's very first and second energy center. Yeah, so I understand that the throat and the root are very connected, because the first energy center, the root chakras, that's all about fears. That's the kind of challenge of that center. It's our demons, our fears. So when we're in fear, we're going to make choices from fear. Choices that typically are disempowering or take us away from our power. And it's for a great cause. We usually do this because we want to create safety and a sense of security in our body and our lives. But these are the decisions that can really cost us the most. That's why people say, don't make a decision until you feel better and you're grounded and you're centered. Because by making decisions from a place of fear, you're really placing your own will over the divine will. You're essentially saying or communicating, I have no faith, when you do that. Okay, so think about how big that is too. That's another self-betrayal. The higher self, the self with the big S, the capital S. And the mantra for this, our fifth energy center, according to Caroline Mace, is surrender personal will to divine will. And that's a mantra to live by. As I always say, if we're like digging our heels in the sand, we don't want to release attachment to an expectation, an outcome. That's usually when we're trying to put our will over the divine will. Maybe we don't have the higher perspective that we need to make a decision, but that's when we have to really hone in on our intuition and trust. And that's where we find the answers. We're never going to get the full book, every single chapter on what we're supposed to do, but we'll always get that next step. And I've loads of examples of those that we can chat about afterwards. But when you start to listen to your soul, it will lead you, and you become more confident in that too. The universe is always trying to bring us back into balance. So when we come out of balance, it's always going to bring us back. And we hear this all the time, people that were on rock bottom. It was only when they got to rock bottom that things started to move and shift and change. And I think it's because they just let go. They didn't know what else to do, so they were like, oh, what, I'll give it up, I surrender. And that's when all the light came in. That's when they dropped the bags, all their baggage, and all this light rushed in. This is the rebalancing universe. And I honestly think the pain and the suffering isn't necessarily from the situations that happen to us in life, but our attachment to them, how we show up, our sheer will to stay a certain path or course, or to pursue an outcome instead of surrendering to a vaster aspect of us, the higher source. Yes, I think it's about saying yes to holding more light. So it's not so much that we're being led out of a place of darkness, but it's a little bit more advanced than that. We're not, in this class, it's not about walking out of darkness into light. It's actually saying, I'm willing to hold more light. There's a big difference there. And honestly, all we have to do is say yes. Yeah, that's all we got to do. So the throat chakra is, universally known as the center of communication, of speaking your truth. And, the reason that people might struggle with speaking their truth is because they might still be living and acting from lower centers. Survival mode, again, trying to get your basic needs met, not feeling like you're enough. So even if you have the courage to speak out, it's not necessarily going to be aligned with your truth if you aren't connected to your truth. If you're not connected to the most truest infinite part of yourself, it's going to be really hard to express that when you're not. Like when I was younger, I think about me when I was like a late teenager, my late teens, I was full of anger, full of trauma and wounds. And I had no problem speaking out for most of it, but it wasn't my truth. I was lashing out from a wounded part of myself. It wasn't aligned with the self. And I certainly wasn't channeling grace when I was moving from those aspects of myself. So we can see, as we heal and we start to come into higher levels of awareness, it becomes less about us and our wounds and more about the collective, the law of one. We're coming into that oneness. And yeah, going back to it, there's no such thing as a small decision or a big decision when it comes to our power and how we lose power or become empowered. We just tend to focus on the big things. So, like our core relationships, our work, our life, like money, what's in our bank, like that makes sense because if you want to change your life, it probably makes sense to change, those relationships or the work that you do, because that's where you spend most of your time and your energy. And like we know the term soul sucking job, like where did that even come from? Because most of us have been there. Um, I'd certainly experienced this maybe a couple of times. And funny enough, I experienced these soul sucking jobs when thought I was climbing the ladder. When I thought I was doing the right thing, this is what was costing me the most on an energetic basis. And again, that energy has to come from somewhere. Think about a soul sucking job. So are we spending our energy at the detriment of our soul? Where's it coming from? Some people get sick, and we don't always have to get sick, but it's definitely maybe, this energy has been taken from our cell tissue, this kind of betrayal. Or maybe it's happened on a vast level. I'm not 100% sure, but I know soul sucking job didn't that came from somewhere. I'm very careful of what work I engage in now and where I spend my time. Probably almost too much, but it's just as I am, learning to follow my intuition no matter what. It's so important that I really consider the choices that I make, regardless of what other people think. So I have to understand the weight of that consciousness. So, and that applies to small things every day. So that also includes gossiping, judging other people, like talking shit about people, um, complaining, whatever. Basically doing that and then ignoring the impact that it's going to have on your energy. Because it's a habit or it feels good, or, it might bring you closer to a person just for even that day. And you just kind of do it, you gossip, and then afterwards you feel like shit, So it's just that kind of being conscious, like it's not just about your job anymore. What kind of relationships do you have? How do you speak about other people? Um, you know, I had an example, but I'm looking at the time, so I'll come back to it later. But and one of the really cool things about our throat chakra and our upper centers is that they're kind of like the opening for our vaster gifts and blessings and these upgrades. And that's what makes life so fun. So as we move into higher levels of consciousness, these things, like situations happen in our life to prepare us so that we can open and receive these gifts. Because having these gifts won't be as meaningful if you're still acting from a lower place, or like acting from lack or gossiping or complaining or living in fear. So yes, often having a purposeful job is going to help. You'll feel more aligned on who you are on a vaster level. But if we're still willfully hanging around people that make us want to talk shit, or we're doing it, right, we're leaking our energy. And that's how it is. And the example I was going to share is not too long ago, I was looking for a space and to rent, to just a space to rent, and it was actually in this woman was so lovely. But I noticed when I was there, she talked a lot about people around the town. And I knew more about her life in those few minutes than I had about people I know ages. And I kind of thought, oh, like if I take, even though a lot of things lined up, so this would be a good space to take, I know that if I was to go there nearly every day or most days, it would take a lot of energy work for me to stay centered and to stay grounded and just not let that energy be exchanged. But the reason I didn't take it is because I have enough, just being a human being is hard enough. And we don't need to put ourselves in situations where we're going to have to constantly do energy work just to stay centered. And I just knew I could see a timeline where I take the job, and then after a couple of weeks, I'm so fed up listening about gossip and judging and no. I either, to make life easier, match that person's energy. So I start to judge other people, I start to gossip, and it feels good because finally I'm not in resistance to this person anymore. Finally, we can just resonate and be on the same page. Or I continue to resist and stay in my own resonance, and I go home every day and bitch about her to who I live with. And then they have to take the brunt of it, whoever I live with. And I'll wait and I tell you what she said today. And oh my God, she just sucks all my energy out. And I just saw that timeline and I thought, no, like I can't do that to myself. I can't do that to anyone involved. It's not going to help anybody. My energy is not needed there. I'll go somewhere else. So these are the kind of decisions, if I had made that decision from a place of lack and fear, I would have taken it because I would be like, no, I need a space. I need money. I need a job. And my decisions would have been totally clouded by that survival instinct. Whereas when we kind of move up in consciousness, we can recognize that sometimes those fears do come up. We can say hello to them and we can offer them healing, whatever they need. And then we can actually make a decision from a higher perspective. So I hope that helps, that example. When our mind and our body and our spirit are aligned, we speak our truth more clearly and peacefully. So we're connected to that innate creativity, and that's our gift to the world. So it's our center for authentic expression. It's our opportunity to express our divinity into the world, into matter, into physical form, if we want. So with every choice we make, we're co-creating our lives. Even if you don't think you're a creative person, you are creating your life every single day. Think about the choices that led you to something greater. Even choices that, like, especially choices that came from your gut, that intuitive hit that you got. Like, what if you never applied for college or the scholarship that you never thought you were going to get? What if you never applied for that because you were a little bit fearful? What if you didn't start your Instagram page or your candle making hobby into a business? What if you never did that breathwork class and then you didn't meet that person that became a really good friend or partner? So like, our choices matter. And I actually think it's really beautiful and really brave. Like, it's a really active courage and love to heal all of our blocks that we have that are preventing us from expressing who we are, our authentic self, and that keep us from channeling grace, because that's what needed. And as we ascend, we begin to, make decisions from a place of empowerment rather than disempowerment. And as we do that, we're more willing to empower other people along the way. Think about how good it feels when people empower you, and that you could be that, that light in the world too. So I feel like as we shine our light, we give other people permission to shine their light, and offering, others permission that we all crave. We all crave the permission to be seen, to be authentic, to be gifted. That's incredibly powerful to offer that as an example in the world. And it's so important to be an example of that in the world. Okay, so I hope you don't mind that I totally went over, but I thought it was important to share more examples and try and make this a bit more accessible. Would people like to go into the meditation now? Yeah, cool. Okay, great. Okay, so get yourself into a comfy spot. For me, that's definitely sitting on a nice comfy meditation pillow, something for my back. For you, it might look like a nice chair or lying down. Although I do always say it's better to sit up, because these meditations, it's so easy to fall asleep in, but do whatever feels good for your body and for you. Whatever helps you to relax but stay alert, we'll do that. And we can roll the shoulders back, just take a few breaths. I'm going to create a group container for this session. This is a group container that we've already established, the Sacred Sessions Ireland container. So let's pop into the container. We can imagine that this really gorgeous energetic bubble surrounds our group, bringing us here together as community. And we're also going to state the intention that we're going to remain individuated as well. Let's refresh the grounding cord of our group container. So let's imagine a really beautiful earth cord deep in the earth. Maybe it's a nice shimmering gold color, and just allowing it to travel up through the earth's soil and attach to the bottom of our container, of our bubble. Or connect to the earth. Let's also welcome in some universal energy. Above our head, we can see that golden light, lots of sparkles. Maybe it's a white light for you. Just allow that universal energy to pour into the container. We're going to welcome in our own guides and our vaster wisdom. And they're going to ask them to collaborate for our highest and greatest good and the highest and greatest good of all. We're going to set some intentions here today. So we're going to set the intention that we're all very welcome here today. Falter Rove. We're going to set the intention that this is a great space, a great way to explore and learn more about ourselves. We can do really big healing work here, and we can also find our sweet spot. Big emotions are welcome here, resistance is welcome here, and it's also going to be gently released into the earth. This is a space where we can reconnect to ourselves, where we can reconnect to the land of Ireland, to our ancestors, to the earth and the elements. This is a space where we get to strengthen our intuition, to release density in anything that's preventing us from holding more light. And if you're ready, you can say yes to the level of consciousness or awareness that's uniquely ready for you. Your intuition is in charge, your vaster wisdom is in charge. This is a space where we're going to release any unconscious patterns, attachments, habits, wounds, anything that's clouding our authentic expression, so that we can reclaim our power with humility and step further into wholeness. We're going to set the intention to awaken and unlock spiritual gifts and blessings. We're going to set the intention to align with our essence and speak our truth, so that we're aligned with divine will. And we're going to use our power to co-create a really beautiful and empowered life for us, for those around us and our community and the greater world. And I also shared a lot in this session, so you can allow that information to sit outside your aura. And your guides can choose, and if anything is resonant, and how to work with it. And let's also set the intention that whatever we think is possible in this healing session, just allow that to shatter. Let ourselves go beyond that. Let's leave space for miracles, for blessings. We're going to set the intention to stay open to possibility. And we're going to welcome in earth energy, the earth's deeper insights and wisdom to collaborate with all of our intentions. We'll welcome in universal energy that's going to collaborate with our intentions. And if we have a little prayer that we wanted to say, or any personal intentions, even if they've nothing to do with this class, you are welcome to share them now in your own mind. And we're going to bring our attention to our personal aura. And we're going to refresh our grounding cord, bringing up a brand new grounding cord deep in the earth, and just allow this cord to be as wide as your aura, giving yourself full permission to be held and supported by the earth. Maybe just exhale into the earth. We're going to welcome in universal energy above our head. Just allow this bright light and all the sparkles just to pour into your aura, moving through all the layers of your aura, your energy centers. And just like the sun, it's just going to burn away any energy that doesn't belong to you. Any energy that's of a lower frequency, or maybe just send it back to its higher self. We can consciously send any energy that's inauthentic in our field into the earth, just releasing it into the earth. The earth's going to compost and heal any energy that we release. We're going to welcome in our authentic energies. So let's choose a symbol that represents our authentic energy. This can be a shape, a star, could be a seashell. Just allow that shape, that symbol to sit in front of you. And this represents your authentic energies. And we're going to recall our authentic energy through all dimensions of space and time, and your guides can help with this. Just allowing all your energies back into this symbol. Notice what color your energies are. Notice if they have their own vibe. And your guides are going to bless your energies to enhance them, empower them, and update them to who you are today. And then beam your energies back in from the bottom of your feet all the way up to the top of your head, just nice and slowly and gently, filling in any spaces, any gaps. Nice. Okay, so we're now resourced, we're connected, we're in our own authentic power, and we're going to take an energetic tour to Seefin Passage Tomb. We're doing this as a group, but the best thing is we don't have to do the big hike beforehand. So let's imagine ourselves now outside the cairn. And you can bring your blanket and maybe a nice yoga mat, so you're nice and warm and comfy. We're gonna just settle in here. We're gonna say hello to the guardians of this space. And you might notice that you're already being met with the main guardian, the angel or celestial being, whatever sits better with you. And we're just gonna say hello. And we're going to thank this being for all of their work and for protecting this land. How important that they are, how valuable they are. And there's lots of protectors here. So let's offer a whole ocean of gratitude. Let's imagine we offer a whole ocean of gratitude for these beings. We're going to offer a whole mountain of incense. And it can be any incense that you choose. Maybe it's frankincense and myrrh. We're really going to just take in their beauty and their valor and just thank them again for all their work. We're just going to introduce ourselves, our names, where we're from, what year it is, and what some of our hopes and dreams might be. Nice. And we're going to offer them a gift or anything that they need. We can ask them, how can we support you? What do you need? We're going to say yes. If we ever hear a no, or we feel that we're not wanted, we'll always turn back. We're always going to respect a no. We're going to ask these beings, can we visit the vortex? And we can enter the Cairn. And as we enter the Cairn, we're in the passageway, and the floor, the ground beneath us begins to open. And we notice there's a spiral staircase leading beneath the earth. So we begin to move downwards, down the spiral staircase. And as we're moving deeper into the earth, we're noticing there's so much more space here. Notice how you feel. Notice where in your body begins to light up. And just keep taking those descending steps until you reach the bottom. And as you leave the stairway at the staircase, you notice a beautiful blue, dark blue, kind of indigo light. And as you follow it, it brings you to the vortex. For vortexes, I see them as really bright, beautiful, and colorful energy, pool of energy. You're welcome to find a symbol or a shape to represent the vortex. It can help when we collaborate. So allow the vortex to change into whatever symbol feels really good. Or maybe it stays like a collection of energy, and that's okay too. So first we're just going to take in its immenseness, its vastness, its beauty, and we're just going to validate this beautiful vortex, how powerful it is. We're going to tell it how beautiful it is, how important it is. It's been a really long time since this vortex has had much interaction, so I think it's really important to go for it. And we're going to introduce ourselves. So again, who you are, where you're from, what year it is, what your hopes and dreams are. And we're going to offer some support and gratitude and love. So any gift that you'd like to offer, these could be energetic gifts. Maybe you want to offer some love, loving energies, healing energies, blessings. Maybe you want to offer a color to wash over this vortex. Again, we can go with the Buddhist tradition and offer a whole sky full of flowers. And we're going to ask if we can support this vortex and what it's up to and how we can support it. And sometimes these beings ask for a commitment. And we're going to say yes, and we're going to ask this being, this vortex, to support us in our hopes and dreams. Maybe in evolving our throat chakra, our root center, so that we can align our personal will with divine will, so that we can strengthen our intuition, so we can follow our divine guidance into our best, most fulfilling life, and so that we can empower ourselves and other people along our path. Maybe we just ask this vortex if it can help us be a better person, to hold more light. And as we ask the vortex, and we hear our yes, the vortex is going to begin by scanning our body for any attachments. So we can imagine the vortexes, that dark blue light begins at the top of our head, and just like a black light, it's going to scan from the front of our body, the top of our head, all the way down to our feet, really slowly. And we're not going to overwhelm ourselves. We're just going to allow one thing, one energy that's ready to be released, that was previously unconscious. We're going to allow that to show. And our guides can be in charge of that. Our intuition is in charge of that. Just allow this vortex's light to scan our front body and our back body, beginning at the top of our head, all the way down our back and our legs. Notice if the light has showed up anything in your field. Notice if you saw any cords or anchors in your field, emotions, pictures, patterns. Just choose one if that feels good to work on. Notice where in the body this energy is attached to. Is it in your heart center? Is it attached to the base of your spine? Bring your awareness to the energy center. Or maybe it's in your aura. First is bringing our awareness here. We're so grateful that we have awareness here. We're going to also notice what it looks like. If it's a cord, is it like chains? Is it like a rope? Is it like a shape? Or does it have like a particular texture or color? Is it stuck in the body or hovering around the body? Is there a person that's attached to this cord? Or an emotion, a story? Just get an idea of this energy. And when you have a good idea, a good visual, we're going to allow this energy to sit in front of us. Even if it's a cord with something at the end of it, that's okay. For now, we're just going to put it in front of us. Even if it's still attached to us, perfect. We're going to allow this energy to be in its own bubble with its own earth cord and its own universal cord. So it's not going anywhere and it's resourced. And now that it's in the bubble, we can ask more questions. We can get a bit more curious. Again, what's the story here with this energy? Is there a story? Is there patterns? Is this energy like an emotion? Does it feel like lots of fear? We're going to ask the question, how much of this energy is my authentic energy? And we might hear a number or a percentage. And we're going to trust our read, trust our intuition. And then we're going to ask how much of this energy in this bubble is ancestral energy. And again, we're waiting for that percentage, that read. How much of this energy in the bubble is societal? How much of this energy is familial? And we can't work on energy that doesn't belong to us. That's not our own authentic energy. So we're going to allow and give permission for any energy that's inauthentic to be released into that grounding cord now. Any energy that's ancestral gets to be released. We're going to give permission to familial and societal energy to be released down into the earth. And now that we're left with our own authentic energy, we're going to ask it some questions again. So we're going to ask, what does it need from you? What does it need you to release? How old is this energy? We're going to allow any pictures, any moments in time that's associated with this energy, this bubble, these attachments, to come and sit in front. Any moments in time that are ready for healing, that are popping into your mind now, let those pictures sit in front of you. And it could be just one or two, or it could be a whole mountain of pictures. Just trust whatever comes. We're going to offer these pictures, these moments in time, a healing and a completion. So let's use the elements. We're going to welcome in earth energy to wash over these pictures. The earth's going to wash through any density, any energy that's blocked or stuck. We'll also welcome in nourishing and soothing water. We're going to welcome in the element of fire. The fire is going to transmute any karmic energies, any cords of enmeshment, any contracts, vows, or agreements that are ready to be cancelled in the background. We're going to bring in the element of wind to offer a final clearing to these pictures. And let's welcome in golden cosmic light and allow this golden cosmic light to infuse these pictures, allowing them to be fully healed and completed and then burst into light. We're going to now bring our attention back to this bubble that holds this energy. We're going to say yes to healing, yes to growth, and we're going to offer this energy a healing so it can have its needs met. So let's use the elements again, washing over with earth energy, allowing the earth to wash away any density, anything that's stuck or blocked. We're going to welcome in nourishing and soothing water to wash over this energy. It could be any body of water that feels really supportive. Maybe well water or ocean water. We're going to welcome in fire and allow the fire to wash over this bubble and transmute any karmic energies, enmeshment, any contracts or vows that are ready to be completed in the background. And wind, and allow the wind to offer final clearing. We're going to bring in a rainbow of frequencies and allow the rainbow to just pour into this bubble, infusing all of the energy, bringing up deep earth energy into the bubble, and allowing this energy to ask for whatever it needs and whatever it wants from the earth and from the universe. We're going to bring out that golden cosmic light and allow it to infuse the bubble, allowing the energy to fully healed, fully completed, and then burst into light. We can allow any energy that's ready to be released to the earth can be released to the earth. Any energy that wants to move into the universe can be recycled by the universe. And any of this transformed light that wants to be reintegrated back to you, you get to decide if that happens or if that feels good. We're going to bring our attention now to any cords that were attached to this energy that was in the bubble. And if there was a cord, we're just going to bring up earth energy to hold this cord, giving this cord full permission to be totally nourished and held by the earth. We're going to bring in a rainbow of frequencies from above to infuse this cord, so this cord can have its full needs met. And again, we're going to give a full permission to be totally loved and totally cared for, and to ask for whatever it needs and whatever it wants from the earth and from the universe. And again, we'll bring in that golden cosmic light, allowing it to be fully healed, completed, and burst into light. And then in front of you, you're going to imagine that there's a fire. And in this fire, we're going to place any hooks from these cords into the fire. And our guides are going to help us. So it's okay if we don't have a perfect visual for this. And as we scan our body, wherever this cord was, we can imagine we're going to unhook any hooks, place them in the fire. And our guides again are going to assist, moving around our aura, moving around our body, finding these hooks, unhooking them and placing them in that karmic fire. And the fire is going to transmute any karma, any cords of enmeshment. And we ask that any lessons from these cords get to be uploaded into your Akashic records. So we can allow that whole imagery just to dissolve and integrate. And we've made all this really beautiful space in our field. So let's recall our authentic energy one more time. bringing that symbol that represents your authentic energy in front of you, asking your guides to assist in recalling your authentic energies into that symbol. Your guides are going to empower your energies, bless your energies, and update them. And then beam them in from the bottom of your feet all the way up to the top of your head, really focusing on those places where we transformed and released energy, made lots of new space. Just filling in any gaps, any spaces. We're going to refresh our grounding cord and bring up a brand new grounding cord. Bring in lots of sparkles. Now the vortex is ready to work with us more. So as we bring our awareness back to the vortex, it begins to shine and bring in its blue light. The blue light begins to move towards our feet, moving in a clockwise motion around our feet, around our legs, all the way up and into the base of our spine. So this blue light from the vortex is now circling our first energy center, working to heal and evolve our first energy center. And then moves up into our second energy center, just below our belly button, our solar plexus. This blue light moves into our heart center, into our shoulders, our arms, our back, and into our throat chakra. Remembering that our throat also includes our ears, our nose. And it's going to move around our throat, our fifth energy center, healing and evolving this center. This is the center for authentic expression, to align our own will with divine will, to surrender personal will to divine will. It's our willingness to come into oneness, to make decisions, remembering that we are so powerful and our decisions matter. And this energy of the vortex then moves into our third eye, our brow chakra, and it moves to heal and evolve this center. And then into our crown chakra at the top of our head, and out into our aura. Just allow this dark blue energy of the vortex to pour into our aura. And then above our head, we see a silver light, incredibly sparkling. And this silver light is going to move over our aura, wash over our aura, and pour into the 7 layers of our aura, moving into our energy centers. And this silver light is going to upgrade our energy. It's going to bless our energy and seal our energy. Remembering that you are safe. It's safe to move into higher levels of awareness. We're going to watch as the vortex retracts its energy. We're going to thank. So again, we can offer that whole gratitude and whole ocean of gratitude. If there's a color that the vortex would like, we can offer that color and all its healing frequencies. We can send our energy back, recall our own energy, and begin to ascend the staircase, moving up the stairs of that spiral staircase, ascending back up till we reach the surface of the earth and we find ourselves back in the Cairn. We're going to leave the Cairn and we're going to thank the guides and the guardians, the protector spirits of this realm, of this area. And again, let's offer them a whole sky full of flowers. Any gifts that we'd like to share. We can even wash over the Seefin area with rainbow frequencies, so they get to ask for whatever they need and whatever they want. And we're going to bless them and say thank you and be on our way. And before we leave, we're just going to make sure that we gather all of our energy, any energetic debris. We don't want to leave anything behind. So we're going to imagine now that the element wind moves from the east. And as it moves underground where the vortex is and at the surface, collecting any of our energetic debris, any energy that's inauthentic to the area, and it moves it to the west where it'll be healed and recycled by the universe. And we're going to come back into, we're going to say bye for now, and we're going to come back into our group bubble, our container, and we're going to send each other's energy back. So we can imagine now that we send each other's energy back. We're going to bring in that symbol that represents our authentic energies, and we're going to recall our authentic energies again. Allow them to be updated and blessed and beamed in. I'm going to refresh our grounding cord and bring up a brand new grounding cord. Let the earth celebrate you and all the work you've done. Let the universe celebrate you and bless you. And just as you bless, as the universe blesses you, we're going to bless the universe right back. We're going to thank our guides, thank each other, thank the container. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back. So I appreciate you spending your time with me today and Seefin Passage 2. Make sure to drink lots of water. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out anytime. Thank you.